Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
Charlie is neutral.
Another one.
Charlie is ours.
What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Nothing But Skills, bringing you another Division video. And today's video is focused on those players who don't have the 6-piece gear set, or they don't have classified gear sets to run. My last build video was focused on that, but I wanted to get another build in there because a lot of you guys said, well, I don't have those gear pieces, and I just wanted to make another build so that way you guys have options. If you don't have one gear set, hopefully you guys can get this one. This one's a little bit easier to get since you don't need all of the pieces. I'll tell you what pieces you can swap out once we get into the build. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support you've been showing me. Without you guys, this channel wouldn't be here. If you guys enjoy watching this content and you enjoy watching my videos, and I know a lot of you like my videos, you comment. Also, what you need to do, so when my videos get released, you get notified, you need to go to my channel, make sure you hit the notification bell, go to where my subscribe button is. There's a little bell there, and please turn that on so you get notified as soon as I drop a video, because the more people that watch your video in the first couple hours of its release, when you guys watch my video when I first release them, it helps my channel out, it helps it grow, it makes YouTube spread the video around. Most of my videos release around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and Saturday it's a little bit earlier. My upload schedule is usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now sometimes if I have a lot of content to release to you guys, then I'll upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays too. Hopefully I can start streaming on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We'll see. So that's enough talking, guys. Let's get into this build. I'm really excited about it. It was one of my favorite builds to run in 1.7. I had to make a lot of tweaks. I had to play with it to where I was very happy with it. And this build just shreds. If you don't have any classified gear set, this is probably a build for you. So the first thing you're gonna notice is I'm running all exotic pieces except 2 gold pieces. Now, some of these pieces you can swap out like I told you, but we'll get into that in just a second. So before we get into the gear, we're gonna talk about the firearms is 7,000, the stamina is 5,000, and electronics is 2,800. That's gonna put me at primary firepower around 400,000, toughness around 440,000, and skill power around 119,000. For the chest piece, it's a Barrett's bulletproof vest. The armor is 2,000, it's rolled firearms. The Barrett's bulletproof vest talent is no skills on cooldown increases my skill power by 10%, 1 skill on cooldown increases my damage by 5%, and 2 skills on cooldown increases armor by 10%. The major attributes are health, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity as the minor attribute. I really recommend on all your 1.8 builds that you run health and exotic damage resilience. Those are the 2 best in-slot stats to roll on your chest piece on every build because of the fact that you need health and you need exotic damage resilience to combat that Predator's Mark bleed. And not only does it combat the bleed, it helps out with the flame turret. So I really recommend you running that. The mods, I'm running stamina mods with 1% critical hit chance. For the mask, it's a tenacious mask. What tenacious does is increase damage by 10% for 10 seconds when using a med kit. Now this works really good when you're fighting someone who has pred, because a lot of times you're gonna use a med kit to remove the bleed, and then you're gonna get that boost of 10% damage. And if you can put that damage on the target, you can most likely drop him before he has a chance at putting the bleed back on you. And the major attribute I recommend running is exotic damage resilience. I tried running this with 4% critical hit chance, but I really missed that exotic damage resilience when I fought Predator's Mark. Stacking at least 20% exotic damage resilience on all your 1.8 builds seems to be the ideal number for exotic damage resilience. Now, some builds can run a little bit higher when you stack final measure, but I think around 22% exotic damage resilience is just enough to give you a fighting edge towards Predator's Mark. The minor attribute is blind death resistance, and then the mods I'm running are stamina mods with critical hit chance. For the knee pads, these are Short Bow Championship knee pads. The talent is the fuse time on grenades is reduced to 0.2 seconds. Now that's pretty much when you drop a grenade on the ground, it's gonna explode. So when you have two guys charging you, if you drop a shock grenade or you drop a grenade, it's gonna stun them, it's gonna shock them, and you have a chance to drop both of them because there's no fuse time. That's why if you have these championship knee pads in your stash, you might want to pull them out if you don't have any other classified gear sets to run. Now you don't have to have these knee pads. You can pretty much run any knee pads in this slot if you love the major attributes and the minor attributes those knee pads have. For me, I recommend running health on these knee pads just because with this build, your stamina is already at 5,000 and you want to have some kind of survivability. And then for the minor attribute, I have damage to elites, burn resistance, and disorient resistance. Now since this is a PvP build, I would love to have shock resistance instead of damage to elites. For the mods, I'm running stamina mods with 1% critical hit chance and a performance mod with first aid self-heal. For the holster, I'm running a Colonel Bliss holster. What a Colonel Bliss holster does is hitting a target consecutively with a sidearm increases your damage with all weapons by 2% for 20 seconds. This effect stacks until 10 shots, and after that, the stack is consumed and triggers an EMP effect. Now this holster is another item that you can swap out for any holster that you have. If you have a classified holster, you could put it in there. It doesn't really matter for last stand, but I like having this holster on there since I'm not going to get any benefit from running a classified piece in last stand. Having the Colonel Bliss holster that gives you a pretty cool talent is worth it to me. So if you don't have this holster, you can swap this one out. This one's armor roll is roll 995, and then the major attribute that I really recommend you running is 4% critical hit chance on your holster, because with this build you want to stack as much critical hit chance and critical hit damage as possible. And then for the performance mod, another first aid self-heal. For the gloves, for this build, this is the one piece that you must have, the one piece that you can't swap out. These Skull MC gloves, the armor is 984, it's rolled firearms. What Skull MC gloves do is damage is increased by 16% when no set bonuses are active. The major attributes are SMG damage, critical hit chance, and critical hit damage. That is the ideal roll that you want if you're going to be running SMG. Now if you're going to use an assault rifle, you want to switch up the major attribute for assault rifle damage, have critical hit chance, and then instead of that skill haste, put critical hit damage. For the backpack, there's really only one backpack that you should run with this build because it's going to give you just a little bit more skill power. It's a specialized backpack which adds 200% of your firearms and stamina to your skill power. It's rolled firearms, its major attribute is 9% critical hit damage, and the minor is burn resistance. The mods are stamina mods with critical hit chance and performance mod with first aid self-heal. Now if you don't have a specialized backpack, this is one piece that you can always buy at different vendors. They're always selling specialized backpacks for some reason. For my primary, I have the house of course, but I wanted to show you this build with a different SMG just so you can see what kind of damage it could do. So in the video you saw at the beginning, I used the house and then I used the MP5. For the MP5 ST, it has 22% critical hit chance. I'm just waiting for some division tech to fully optimize this. The base damage is fully optimized at 22.2k. The RPM is 800. That's 50 less RPM than the house. But the cool thing about this MP5 is it has responsive, damage is increased by 10% when closer than 10 meters to the target. It has deadly, critical hit damage is increased by 15%, the same talents I have on the house, but instead of the card counter, you don't get that on the MP5, but I put unforgiving. Missing health segments increase your damage. One missing segment is an additional 10% damage. Two missing segments is an additional 25% damage. So this talent works really good when you're fighting someone who hits really hard, because as soon as you're missing that one segment, you're going to start hitting harder with that 10% damage. And then if they get you down to two missing segments, that 25% damage is going to kick in on top of deadly and responsive, which is a lot of damage. So for this MP5, the way I recommend modding it is putting a red dot sight or any optics that has high critical hit damage. It has headshot damage and then it has critical hit chance. For the muzzle, I recommend putting one that has critical hit damage, headshot damage, and critical hit chance, because you want to stack as much critical hit damage on this MP5 since you're already stacking a lot of critical hit chance. For the small grip, you want to stack as much critical hit damage again, so you're going to have 19% critical hit damage, stability, and accuracy. And then for the extended magazine, this is where you're going to stack more critical hit chance instead of critical hit damage. So you have your magazine size, your critical hit chance, and then rate of fire. For the house, the base damage is 24.5k. It's 2.3k higher than my MP5, so I just wanted to show you the difference. The critical hit chance on the MP5 and the house should be the same, but the MP5 is not fully optimized. They both have deadly, critical hit damage is increased by 15%. Of course, responsive damage is increased by 10% when closer than 10 meters to the target. And then the big difference between the two is the card counter. One half of the magazine does 20% increased damage. The half which deals increased damage flips after 15 seconds or when the magazine is empty. The way I have this one modded is pretty much the same as the MP5 ST. I have a red dot sight with critical hit damage, headshot damage, critical hit chance. Allow bent break with critical hit damage, headshot damage, critical hit chance. A small grip with critical hit damage, reload speed, and optimal range. and then an extended magazine with magazine size, critical hit chance, and rate of fire. So if we get into the skills I really recommend you running is a booster shot, just because when you get into battle, what you want to do is pop this booster shot and then start firing. This is going to heal me for 70,000 and it's going to come back every 48 seconds. And then you pair the booster shot with the immune station, and the reason why is because the immune station is going to have a bigger heal than even your overdose or your booster shot. So you use this immune station as an extra heal. It comes back every 34 seconds and it's great for combating shock turrets. So you can drop it down around the shock turret, kill the target, and then you can explode it and get that heal. If we get into the character, you're going to see my critical hit chance on my MP5 ST is 45%. My critical hit damage is 119%, and my headshot damage is 62%. Now this is going to fully optimize up once we get into the last stand or in skirmish. My max health is going to be 297,000, my toughness is around 440,000, and my armor mitigation will be at 33% once we're in last stand. So if we look at the house, my critical hit chance is 46.5%, critical hit damage is 119%, and headshot damage 62%. So it's pretty much the same as I told you. Now the biggest question people are going to ask me about this build is, can I run this in a dark zone? Now I'm going to tell you the honest truth is no. And the reason why is because classified gear pieces max out at 1401, but these gear pieces only max out at 1272. So if you go into the dark zone and someone has a fully optimized gear set, they're just going to be hitting a lot harder and they're going to have more stamina, they're going to have more electronics than you. That's why this build is tailored to those players who want a PvP, they want to go into last stand, or they want to play skirmish, but they don't have a PvP build. This build is still great for that. Now if you want to try to run this build in the dark zone, you honestly could run a classified gear piece that's maxed out. Here you could run a holster classified piece that's maxed out, and you could even take off the tenacious mask if you really didn't need it and put a classified gear piece. You would be a little bit stronger, but at the end of the day, if you ran the build that I released yesterday, 2 Banshee, 2 Pred, Final Measure, and a Ninja Bike backpack, you most likely will do a lot better in the dark zone than you would with this build. So remember guys, I could run this MP5 with my 6-piece striker, my 6-piece nomad, and even my 6-piece predator's mark. I would just have to switch responsive to the bottom slot and unforgiving to the top slot. I would have to get a different MP5. This gun would still melt. It's not the end of the world if you don't have the house. Yes, the house is great to have. Yes, it hits a little bit harder. Yes, it shoots a little bit faster. But before I had the house, this was the gun I was using. If you want to even run an assault rifle, you could run this assault rifle. See, I have an unforgiving, deadly, responsive, and you could run the same build I have. Instead of SMG damage on the gloves, put assault rifle damage. I just want you guys to know that every build that I put out is to help you guys become better PvP players. I wouldn't release a build if I thought it wasn't going to be any good in last stand or skirmish, and I'll always tell you what I believe this build is good for. This build right here, great for skirmish, great for last stand, not so good for the dark zone. You would have to tweak it a little bit, and it still wouldn't be as good as running the last build that I released. So if you guys have any questions on this build video, let me know in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel and this is the first time you're watching the video, hit that subscribe button. Remember, if you don't see me in last stand, if you don't see me in skirmish, if you don't see me in the dark zone, it's only a matter of time. Nothing but skills is out.